Hey, this is Notser, and I just want to talk about stealth firing in 0.6.3. Now, the public test server is just launched, and this is just initial footage, just so I can talk about my thoughts. But Wargaming are indeed going to be removing the ability to stealth fire in 0.6.3. Now, this is kind of controversial, just a wee bit. And I took out the tier 6 Fubuki, and the Fubuki got a little range buff. Not too much, but yeah, notice when I fire my gun, it goes out to the maximum effective range of my main battery. It will always do that for every single ship, I believe. So you've got this weird scenario where American destroyers and Japanese destroyers are being nerfed. German and Soviet are being buffed because the Soviet are bringing them down. There's no longer this extended range, at least that's my understanding. I haven't played a Soviet destroyer, but the Germans, is this enough to make them viable? I don't really know. They're really bulky. But yes, stealth firing will be removed in 0.6.3. And I'm going to have videos for different destroyers, different cruisers that it is apparent for, very important for, and I'll have better understanding. But based on this game, and you're going to be seeing a good example of it, based on this game, it feels like destroyers are globally more visible. There is a greater chance of taking damage, and that sounds completely reasonable, right? If you are reducing the concealment while firing, it's inevitably going to be increasing the detectability of that particular ship. It's just basic, fundamental. The range of my detectability is now the maximum effective fire range. Even if I get advanced firing training, it's going to extend out the detectability range for the ship. They just don't want a scenario where you can fire on someone and they can't return fire. That is what they're trying to fix. Now, is that a problem? Not in my opinion. But that's a problem to them. So you have to consider now advanced firing training, any range increase modules. That is very important because it is going to increase your effective detectability while firing. It's not going to be just a straight up buff. And that's really awkward, right? It's very weird to pick a skill, somewhat like this is torpedo acceleration, to pick a commander skill and to question whether it's worth taking. There's no downside to 98% of commander skills, but there's just a couple where the downside is significant. But just look at the minimap. There are, 3 destroyers, maybe 4 that are visible at any one time. The Japanese still want to use their torpedoes pretty effectively, but it's just easier to see targets. It could be players are just not informed, maybe they're playing aggressively. It just feels like there's more destroyers being seen than there were in a similar game, maybe last patch. I don't know, maybe it's arbitrary, but it just is weird that most of the enemy that have been detected and are undetected now are destroyers, right? And you gotta get used to it. What did the Germans do? They rely heavily on smoke. They also rely heavily on their torpedoes because the punishment for firing is so great. I don't know that the punishment is that extreme for the Japanese and the Americans, but their guns are not as impressive. The turret traverse on the Japanese is terrible. The arc of the American guns is awful. So is it really worth showing yourself unless you can guarantee you have an advantage? I don't know. Probably not. We'll explore this in great detail, I'm sure. But yes, the rumors are true. The leak stuff is true. I've been told by Wargaming they want to sort of, well, they wanted me to look at it for myself and decide whether it is justified for being put in the game, right? This nerf to destroyers, and I don't think it's justified. They have suggested that they would compensate destroyers based on what they see. So that tells me they are comfortable seeing destroyers drop in power for at least one patch. And that's exactly what's going to happen. The destroyer will drop in power You might pick up the Soviet destroyers, but globally, destroyers will drop in power. Most people who play destroyers, I found, are either American or Japanese. There's very few Germans. I mean, very few Germans. And the only Soviets that I see are kind of in response to all the changes. They are usually a low play faction. But yeah, I'm spotted. I'm in between. Why fire your gun? I just want to see. You're probably going to be in a scenario where you don't want to fire your gun. It's just not worth it. You're not gaining enough from firing your gun. And that sounds very German, right? That is very German, and that is very frustrating. Very frustrating. The fact that I can't play a German destroyer and just enjoy the gun systems or whatever, that's exactly what we're going to get here. And that's what it feels like. It feels like my guns just aren't good enough. And I don't know that they're ever going to buff the guns to a degree where, yeah, the risk of being seen is worth it. You might as well use your torpedoes. You are stealth for most of the match, and that's a real advantage. There's also a ton of aircraft carriers being played because they want to check out the UI, and of course I'm going to check it out. There's supposedly an alternative control method for those who like RTS, and I'm a person who likes RTS games, so I am definitely going to be picking it up. I don't care if they say, oh, well, if you've learned the other way. No. StarCraft 2 controls far superior to any aircraft carrier control scheme you have put in the game so far, Wargaming. I'm sorry. It's awkward. It's weird to have to double click on the minimap and you're trying to, warn players that you have something going on, but oh wait, no. You wanted to send your squadron there. No, I didn't. I targeted the minimap and I intended to indicate where the enemy was. So yeah. Just a lot of changes to test. We will absolutely be testing them. This is more just an introduction to stealth fire mechanic, and you can plainly see exactly where it's going up. I have also heard when you have AA going off, it does not increase the detection range for the ship detection range for your ship. It will increase the aircraft detection range, but not the ship detection range, and I don't really know how much that really matters, Oh man, we're just being punished. We're being so punished, and man, the guns are just not good enough. And this was an early look. I hope you are interested in more. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time.